Hey, with hopefully some easy keywords to rank for. That's local keyword research. And I was inspired to do this episode, this live stream, because I've chatted with a couple friends here recently that were doing local websites, local brands, specifically with the newsletter. And that's Shawna Newman and Brooks Conkle. They're separately working on their own projects. And Brooks has been at it for a few years. And interesting business model. It's sort of immune in a lot of ways for Google algorithm updates. And if you can hear me, let me know. I just want to make sure everything is good on the live end. Although on my end over here, it's sort of locked up, which is not a good sign. But I will see what's going on in the chat. And feel free to say hello over there. All right, Solomon is on here. Good to see. I'm not sure why it's frozen up, but I hope it works. And I'm just going to keep rolling and pretending like it's working. So we have sort of the normal stuff going on. I'll fill some time while people are hopping on. We have Broj Mohan is on as well. What's going on? And we're going to do a demo with KWFinder from the Mangools Tools out there. So please have a look out there. Some people are popping in, and do let me know if you could hear me. Like I said, I usually keep a window open, and I'm going to refresh it to see if it's actually working. Like I said, I'm talking like it's working. All right, for some reason it hung up over here, but I think we're good. Like always with the live stuff, you just got to keep going like it's working. And even though we've done hundreds of these, no joke, hundreds of live streams over the years, sometimes things just get goofed up. We have Craftedly. Awesome. Good to see you. And yeah, a lot of folks on today, and I do appreciate it. So we're going to use KWFinder, one of my favorite tools for sort of pure keyword research, though they have a suite of products out there. I'm an affiliate, so keep that in mind. I'm biased, but I'm an affiliate for a lot of products out there. We'll give some shout outs as we go. If you have questions along the way, please ask in the chat. I've ran into a few issues when sharing the chat. So I'll state it out loud, and maybe later on this week I'll do a test live stream where I just kind of try to break things. But a couple times it froze up, and unfortunately with a live, it's like you got to keep rolling and you try not to do anything with it. So we'll go over some specific keyword phrases that you can use for local SEO, and we'll kind of look at what to do if you don't have a lot of experience in that area. And this is one of those where I actually don't have a ton of experience with local SEO, especially recently. So that is one thing where I'm like, oh, I needed to prepare a little bit and do a little research. The thing is, with a lot of SEO, if you have a good handle on the core principles and ideas, it'll get you moving in the right direction. And keep that in mind. I don't have any case studies personally where I've found a good set of keywords, wrote the articles, and then ranked for it. But we can look at Shawna's example. We can look at Brooks, which is actually a public thing because he's been doing it for years. So keep that in mind as we move forward. And Solomon, good to have you on. Same with Breach. And we'll get into it in just a second. One thing I want to, continue to buy a little time, but I'll tell a short story. We have been traveling a ton. So I've changed the schedule a few times for these live streams. And it's unfortunate to switch the schedules. However, I think at least for the next several weeks, I should be able to have the live streams at this time, which it's good to be consistent. So the last couple of weeks, I actually had it on Mondays because we were traveling. So one of the trips was to Leadville, Colorado. We climbed the highest mountain in Colorado, Mount Albert. So that was a couple days up there in Leadville. We waited for the right weather. It turned out perfect. The aspens were changing color, perfect weather. A little windy on top as it is on many of the 14ers. It's extremely windy. I think it was more windy than other days. So that was a little bit unpleasant, but expected. And, the thing is, you start hiking in the morning, it's a little bit chilly, and you started around, I think, was it around 10,000 feet or so? Yeah, it must be around 10,000 feet. And basically, as you go up, it gets cooler and it gets windier. So at the beginning, I thought, oh, I brought way too many layers. I brought too much clothes here. But it turns out by the time you get to the top, you put on every layer, you're completely bundled up. It's freezing up there. The wind chill is in the teens. It's very, very cold. There was a little snow and ice up there. Not much, but there was a little bit of snow like a couple days beforehand. So some of it melted and there was just a little bit of snow, not a ton. And then a couple days after that, after we got back, we headed out for a long road trip out to Nevada to Great Basin National Park. It's about a 10-hour drive, one of the most remote parks in the whole national park system, and beautiful dark skies. There's a cave there, Lehman Caves. There's a 13,000 foot peak right there. So there's some high mountains and just super cool park, especially if you want to get away from it all. The closest town is very close. It's only 5 minutes down the road, called Baker. Baker, I read this, I don't know if it's true, but it said that there's about 21 people that were on the census in 2022. I think maybe about 50 or 60 people live in town because there's the national park and a couple small businesses, very small businesses. So you end up in a situation where it's just like there's not much going on. There's only like 1 or 2 restaurants that you can go to. There's 4. So there's the Border Inn, which is about 10 minutes away. There's 2 restaurants in town, but they were closed. One of them was closed for 2 days while we were there in the middle of the week at the end of the season. So it's like either you prepared ahead of time and you brought food, which we brought a decent amount of food. We stayed in an Airbnb. And then there's a taco truck, Sandra's taco truck, where she has a couple Airbnbs. So we stayed there. And then we ate one meal in the national park where they have a little kind of a diner in the Lehman Visitor Center section there. So anyway, good trip. Been out of town. It's good to be back home. Some of the accommodations were like smaller than we're used to, just because there's not that many options. But it's good to be back home. And long story short, we should be around here a little bit more coming up. In a second, we're going to get over to the actual keyword research here. Let me know in the chat if anyone has done local keyword research before. One of the reasons why you'll be able to kind of have an unfair advantage with local SEO and local keywords is there's a good chance, hopefully, like you live in the community or at least you visit there pretty often. So in that case, you'll be able to go do your own research, right? Firsthand accounts of like when you went to a specific restaurant or a coffee shop, if you had a trade, a vendor come out and work on your plumbing or your yard or electricity or whatever, then you can take your own pictures. You have this unfair advantage where I can't write good content about where you live, and you probably can't write very good content about where I live unless you're regurgitating what other people have done, which at best will just be a derivative of the original. So you should have an unfair advantage. The other thing is there are so many long tail keywords, and we'll look at some examples here, and we'll kind of divide it up. Like we'll get some sort of sample keywords. I'll show you how to set up KWFinder so you can do a local search like in your area and all that stuff. And then you'll be able to have a look at some keyword sort of formats, and then you'll get some of your own ideas. And then from there, I'll show you what you could do if you're like, I'm not really sure like how to get more ideas about these keywords. And again, if you know the main principles here, then you'll just be able to do this, use these skills, and find more and more keywords as time goes on. You don't have to have like specific local keyword research experience. You'll be able to use the same ideas that you already have from other keyword research that you've done. So, and it'll be very clear once we get into it. Okay. So have a look at your leisure. If you didn't see the interview specifically with Brooks Conkle, I put a link in the description, and with Shawna Newman, we talk about local newsletters specifically, but local brands in general. So let me pop over to KWFinder, and again, you can follow the link to use my affiliate link. I'm not sure if you get a discount, but you can use my link. Okay, so let me open the right window here, KWFinder, boom. Okay. So KWFinder, like many of the SEO tools, it's like a full suite of products. So you have KWFinder, which we're using. You have SERP Checker, SERP Watch, Link Miner, and Site Profiler. So we'll use a couple pieces in here as we go. There's also there's a browser extension, volatility, SERP simulator, and some other things like that. The main thing we're going to do for this local situation here is make sure we go to the specific area that we want to target. So typically when I'm doing just general keyword research like non-local, I would just pick US and it would work for the whole US, right? But in this case, I'm going to use my actual like locality here. So it'll be Longmont, Colorado. So I could just select that right here, and that's where the searches will be based. And that makes, all the difference really. So we'll do this. I'll try to zoom in just a little bit so it's a little bit easier to see. And we'll look for just something sort of straightforward. We'll do coffee. Actually, let's approach it from like a tourism standpoint. So we'll do like a best things to do and see what comes up. So again, we'll just sort of approach this with like, all right, I don't know much. So we're searching in the locality of Longmont, best things to do. That's the seed keyword. If you look at the bottom here, there's 238 search phrases that popped up. And the other cool thing, you have some SERP details over on the right side here. And we could see the KD, the keyword difficulty, is at 40. So it's relatively difficult, but we see some sites that pop up over here. So I'll zoom in just so it's a little bit easier to read. And I'll try to remember to zoom in and zoom out, otherwise it won't be very helpful. So, and it pulled the SERP overview like just a minute ago here, because it did like a fresh pull. So we have Visit Longmont. So that's visitlongmont.org, TripAdvisor, Yelp, Reddit, Colorado.com, Expedia.com, Denver.org, and travel.us news. So pretty competitive overall. There's some local oriented sites like Visit Longmont, Colorado, and Denver. But we have big ones like TripAdvisor, we have Yelp, Reddit. And funny thing to note, my wife was Googling something, right? She was Googling something the other day, and she was like, I don't want to see Reddit. Like, why does Reddit come up first? This is horrible. And I have to agree. I fucking hate Reddit. I don't know. Some people like it. Some of my friends are like, they go deep into it. And I think they use it right. It's a bit of a community. They're in nicer places. But it's like when I'm looking for research, like my wife was actually looking up something for the Great Basin National Park. And it's like Reddit popped up first, like over the National Park System website, which is kind of bullshit. All right. So we have sort of the best things to do when we have some stuff that pops up. And it's a little bit, it's a little bit too broad. So these are going to be these travel type websites. But what this does, it does give us a few ideas like family activities. So you kind of get an idea that you can specify this, like fun things to do near me for adults. So you could be like for families, for adults, for kids, that sort of thing. For teens is one that's listed here. So you could put that into your ideas of what you can do. So another angle is the type of fun a person might have. So we have like indoor fun near me. So if you're like not an outdoorsy person, you're looking for indoor activities, or maybe the weather's going to be bad, too hot, too cold, too rainy, whatever. So you're like, we're going to be staying indoors. Another is the time period. So places to visit in March. So another idea, fun fall activities. So you can put some seasonal stuff. We have Halloween coming up, Thanksgiving, the retail season, Christmas, Hanukkah, stuff like that. So all these things you could start putting into your brain. And this is with a search where I like barely had an idea on what we could search for. So best places to visit for Christmas. So right, you can start thinking about seasonal stuff and go from there. So I'm going to put in like Halloween, because that is a holiday coming up. Halloween, things to do, and just see what happens here. All right. So we have, it looks like 700 plus came up here. It's a little bit less competitive. And we see here on the SERP overview, we have Eventbrite, Denver.org, Mile High on the Cheap, Yelp, Reddit, allevents.in, today.com, and Colorado Haunted Houses. So we end up in kind of an interesting spot here, and it gives me an idea. So we're diving in deep, and this is kind of how I do my keyword research, where it's like I started broad, and then I find these threads and I start pulling on them, and I end up with, some pretty unique ideas like very quickly, and it works out great. So let me, I'm going to do one thing here, because I think I have the ability to put my little face up here just so I could wave my arms around. So one that we came up with at number 10, so we have Halloween things to do. We see there's Colorado Haunted Houses.com right here. So I'm just a little bit interested to see what we have here for this website. So if you click here, it'll actually pull up the window or pull up the website, and we can see it pop up. So the scariest local attractions and Halloween news in your inbox all season long. So this is kind of cool. So this website's kind of hilarious. It's just like, it reminds me of like a website from 2009 or something like that, maybe earlier. But we have this website. I don't know how long it's been around. We could probably do deeper research. But basically, it gives you kind of a directory and reviews about haunted houses in Colorado. So you could do this for like any like region, basically. Colorado is a decent sized city. I think there's about 3 million, 4 million in the sort of metro area around Denver. And Colorado is not a hugely populous state overall, but Denver is over 1 million people in the overall area. But the thing is, you could do this for every state. You could do it for regions, bigger like top 10 population cities. I suspect you could like do it just for your city, like HoustonHauntedHouses.com, and just have a directory. And if you're into it, like that's what we have been talking about for a little while. Like if you pick something that you're interested in, you can go to all the haunted houses that you want to and experience them. You could talk to the people that work there. You could talk to the person that helps design them and like really geek out, right? This is like a a podcast or a YouTube brand idea where like all year long you could interview people that do haunted house stuff all across the country. You could make it a thing that you travel to. Like I could picture this as I watch Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, Guy Fieri, and basically like you could probably go around and like travel the whole country and see a bunch of cool shit, meet a bunch of awesome people that are doing haunted house stuff. So anyway, you end up like diving down. So we have the area, you could look at the events. So you have haunted hay rides, haunted houses, mazes, museums, trails, paranormal events, scream parks. I didn't even know all this existed. So you have festivals and parades, hay rides, kids parties, mazes, not so scary haunted houses, so it's kid friendly, pumpkin patches, and escape games, ghost tours, blah, 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 pub crawls. There's all this stuff in here. And this is just, again, this is an idea I accidentally came upon by just starting like, hey, things to do. And then we kind of looked into the seasonality. With the About Us, we'll pop in here just to take a quick look and advertise with us. And then we have more stuff. So it's probably a person that was into this kind of thing. This is like, I don't know if it's an older website, just the design does look a little bit older here. And what I would suggest is like, this is something that someone was probably putting together for fun. And then they realized that they've created like a business. So it says for years, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So there's not a huge amount of information. I didn't read it ahead of time. And then advertising. So they do talk about advertising here. So promote your Colorado Haunted event on this website. So they give you some stats. So in 2023, in the holiday season, they brought in 60,000 unique visitors. Cool. So this is good information. So Colorado Haunted Houses is in the top 3 searches on Google, Yelp, and Bing for Colorado haunted houses and such. Unlike national sites, all the ad campaigns cover the homepage exposure with banners, sliders, and da-da-da-da-da. So here's the thing, right? So here we're getting an idea of the scope of a very specific website. I would suggest to you that you might be able to do like Colorado, like christmaslights.com or something like that, and have a directory of the Christmas lights that people could go check out. They talk about how their ad campaigns are better because they are local and they are targeted properly to the right people and people that are searching for Colorado haunted houses. And 60,000 is, a lot overall in that Halloween season. So that's probably in October, which is starting today. And let's see if they actually mention pricing or anything like that on here. Okay. So it looks like you have to call for pricing and that sort of thing. If you did some research, this might be a type of project that they've done across the country already. So I don't know, but with an 800 number, maybe that's the case. Maybe they just, got access to that 800 number. So anyway, this is the thing. Like you end up finding these interesting websites and you could, right? Like this is a very niche website, but if you zoomed up, you could focus on a locality and that sort of thing. But I do like the specificity of this because I think if you wanted to, this person that put together all this information, they have so much knowledge. They could probably be like on local news, on local radio shows, on podcasts, on local YouTube channels and that sort of thing, and have a huge amount of exposure, right? Not easy. You have to be a talker. You have to want to get out there and do that. But if you have this huge amount of knowledge, that's what you could do with it. Okay. So we kind of looked at the business model there. So let's look at some other keywords. So we ended up with Halloween things to do near me, and we see that Halloween things to do has a 33 KD score here. So it's sort of moderately difficult, but nothing crazy. So let's do, I'll put in, so I want to filter. So one thing you could do with KWFinder, like many of the tools, we could just make sure we include a certain keyword phrase. So I'll put in haunted house. So kind of focusing in on the haunted house aspect of it. So hopefully that'll narrow it down. Great. So best haunted attractions near me. All of these say near me. So what I'll do is I'll click on each one of these and then it'll pull the KD score. And the thing is, this number of searches is so low, it shows up as an NA. But the thing is, we do know that people are searching for this. So haunted house, Halloween attractions near me. And the thing is, like, that one's a little bit more specific, but the phrasing is a little funny. So overall, I probably wouldn't like go too deep into it as far as like trying to create content around haunted house, Halloween attractions near me. You kind of, I mean, you could probably just keep it straightforward. Like we can see what's ranking here specifically, and that is haunted houses, spook walks, and other Halloween attractions in Longmont. So that's the title that we're getting right here. So that kind of covers it. And we see there's like stuff listed here. It's a bit of a hub, right? So there's links to a bunch of stuff here. And then other events listed. So the thing is, like, you may actually be able to rank this pretty easily if you just put a little bit more information about the specifics, because this is kind of a directory type result. And it's something you may have to test, right? You may have to test and see what works. And we have others listed here. And actually Colorado haunted houses comes up more than once. The homepage actually shows up. And then we have some specifics. So 13th floor, hauntedhouse.com, Terror in the Corn, visit longmont.org. So we did a deep dive, thanks for indulging me, into Halloween stuff here. But let's go back to things to do. And I'm going to turn off the filter. And actually, let's not do things to do. Let's broaden it in a second here. But before I go on, I do want to open it up for questions. If anyone has some questions out there, and we'll take a look at some of these ideas that I got from this niche content strategist, which I put a link for this specific GPT in the description if you want to check it out. It's one of the GPTs that I've actually created, but I did ask for keyword ideas. So again, I don't have a local website, but I was like, I wonder what keyword ideas we can get. Now, before we go on, I do want to give a shout out to the sponsor for today. That is Linkify. So Linkify does digital PR campaigns, and I've interviewed Chris Pantelli a couple times. He was on the show I think a few weeks back. Good dude. They're doing awesome work at Linkify. You can get 10% off. But here's the thing. They're running, if you do this, I really want to show what you guys could do. They've been working on it for a couple weeks now. And I'm amazed. So they did a campaign for me I guess about a year ago. They got a link on NASDAQ.com for me, which is crazy. My other podcast and content is around personal finance and financial independence. So NASDAQ.com, Yahoo Finance, and banking rates. I think they got a link there too. So just ridiculous links, especially the NASDAQ.com. And the link that they got for me in the last day or so here that I'm going to share with you is one of the big ones. I've had a link once or twice from Ahrefs, but we got one here, which is pretty amazing. So we have a link here back to my homepage on Niche Site Project. So this is the kind of link you might expect from Linkify. They do an amazing job. They only just started the campaign, so they'll be getting a couple more links for me here in the next several weeks or so. It does take them time to run campaigns. They have to look for the right opportunity that makes sense. But as you can see, Ahrefs, it doesn't really get better than that as far as getting links out there. So thanks to Linkify, save 10% if you go to nichesiteproject.com/Linkify. You can head over there. The discount code is Doug, just DOUG. So you could head over there. Like I mentioned, I was like, hey, I want to get some ideas. And this is something that you obviously can do as well. This is one of the great resources out there with AI tools. I just said, what are good local keywords for a website that covers local events, tourism, restaurants, and more? Give me at least 50 keywords. And they divided it up. So we have like the tourism and attractions and that sort of thing. But you could also go for more like what locals are looking for occasionally, like specific restaurants or coffee shops. And then we have upcoming events and festivals, and then community and local interest. So it just gives you some tips here. And what I'll do is I'm going to snag one that's kind of maybe more around the tourism and attractions, but it may fit in for just like people that live in the town that are looking for other things to do. So I'll say historic sites in Longmont. Let's see what we come up with. There's not a ton, but there are a handful, like many towns, there's a handful of things. So we end up, and I'll zoom in. Number one, we see this as easy, right? So it's 21 out of 100 for the keyword difficulty. And that's not it's not 100% accurate, but it gives you a pretty good idea. And the thing is, it definitely leans more local. So we have visitlongmont.org ranking first and second for different URLs. And then we have colorado.com. We have Longmont, colorado.gov. Yelp, TripAdvisor. We have Simple View Inc., which I don't know what that is. It looks like maybe a PDF is ranking. And then Colorado Encyclopedia. Overall, looks pretty approachable. The thing is, if you dive in a little bit deeper, you might be able to find like some more specific type keywords. Now, the thing is, only 11 showed up over on the big list. So it doesn't give us a ton of other ideas, but we have like Victorian homes, Colorado, history and facts, that sort of thing. And then not much else. Now, the thing is, if we pop open the first results, we'll see, I'm going to go ahead and close up all this haunted house stuff. So we see Longmont's history. They list out the historical sites, and it's kind of a jumping off point. So there's various spots, including museums. They list out the historical tours. So I would contend that if you put together a guide that had like all the information, right? Like if we go this first one here, they have a little bit more information, but it's almost like a placard. Like there's not that much info. So I would say, and there's only 2 pictures listed here, right? This one and that one. That's it. I would say if you created content with more information and more original images for each one of these, who it's good for, the good parts, the bad parts of each one of these sites, I'm pretty sure you would have a better piece of content than the visitlongmont.org, and you would have a case to potentially go out. Like there's not a ton of links, right? So it shows like 0 links here. It shows 0 links for the first 2. Colorado.com has 1 link. I mean, basically, if you just had any links, like if you created a YouTube video where you like walked around town and then you had a blog post you probably could get a little traffic to it. The thing is, there's just not that many keywords around it. Not a ton of people are searching for it, but some people are. And a funny thing happened. Let me pull up a video for you. A funny thing happened. Actually, I could show you behind the scenes. So I created a Longmont video just because I don't know, every now and then I'm like, I want to do like a vlog style video. I always lose steam, by the way. And basically, I'm getting a lot of views on it, which is kind of surprising. So I'm going to pull it open for you in a second here. But basically, I created a video where I did some extremely light research, like an embarrassingly small amount of research. And then I walked around Longmont. I think I probably should have just done something different. I'll be honest with you. I should have done something different because it really wasn't that great. It wasn't that great. Hold on one second. And like I said, I literally just like walked around town like this. There's some B-roll and I just like walked around town. I'm not even sure what that is. Okay. So I walk around town. So Longmont, walking, and some history. And I think a company sent me some clothes, Western Rise, and I was like, sure, you can check it out. Anyway, the point is, not a ton of views, not really optimized, but 2,500 views. The thing is, a lot of the videos on my personal channel, they kind of fizzle out. Part of it is the interest in the content that I was creating before has shifted with niche sites and all that. But one interesting thing with this video, if we go to the analytics, here, you will see that there's kind of been a constant like views, not a ton, but there's a constant set of views. This is way outside what I normally cover. Huge, like completely different, but you can see my normal videos, like in this little shaded part, normally the videos get a handful in the first 180 days, or actually less than that, and then they just kind of taper off and they don't get many more views. So typically a video like this should have 460 to 820, but this one has 2,500 and it constantly gets more viewers, just a little bit more. In fact, in the last day, someone watched it, and it's showing me watching it now. And if we look here, not a ton of subscribers, but a couple, which is kind of interesting. Oh no, it looks like I have ads turned on this one for some reason. Interesting. Which I don't remember turning on ads, but it was at a time where I was like, this is not typical content. Go ahead and put it in. I published this in 2021, apparently. So anyway, the point is, there are people looking for this content. And if you dive in a little bit deeper, like the click-through rate is actually pretty decent. So 5.8. Not a ton of people searching for it, but you get the overall idea. If we go back to this, my whole point before was I could like walk through town. You could have a video. I could go to specific places where I'm like, I'm going to all, my top 5 pizza places, and then I'll talk about those. Like, people watch those. People watch those videos. It could be locals. I can guarantee you the local business that you feature, as long as you don't say super bad stuff, they're probably going to share it on their social media. So you ended up in a place where you're like helping out the local businesses, and then they're going to share it because you've talked about them. So if you created a video, even like I don't remember if this is a faceless video, but I think I do. I like put together a short essay and then read it. So you could do that. It could be a faceless situation. You can go, I'm a big fan of just like video and photography. Go around, take pictures, take video, put together your own B-roll. You are creating like unique content. And then if you put your own opinions into the content, you're in a great spot. You can just put a link in your video and then you would have more links than the other people here. That was the whole point of that. Additionally, if you featured specific businesses, so historic sites don't fit for this, but if you feature specific businesses, there's a strong chance you could tell them, hey, we put a link on your website, like people can watch the review and blah, blah, blah. So that's one route. Of course, if you're doing all pizza shops, then one business might feel more competition with the other. And they're like, well, I don't want to link to it if you talk about this other. So you may have to be strategic about that and just say, hey, I'll do a specific video for you, or I'll do my what I eat in a week. And you go to like different non-competing restaurants. But at the end of the day, like everybody's competing with everybody in some capacity. Okay. So historic sites, not super competitive, but you could definitely do something with it. Again, the things that are ranking pretty well, they have very little content on here. So if you put your own content, I mean, it's just better. There's more information in there, even though you may be competing with the .gov or the .org site or whatever. Okay. So let's look for a couple other ideas. So like walking tours. So we'll do Longmont walking tour. So very low, so only 16. And the thing is, and I've looked at this before, so Longmont.org has a virtual historic Longmont tour. History walking tour. And yeah, so there's a couple others, but a lot of these they're kind of the same thing, right? Not very competitive. There's not a lot of people searching for this. Again, like this is one of those situations where like you're not necessarily looking for high search volume. It's just like we're putting together a really good guide for the local area. And if we refer back to Brooke's interview, the interview with Shawna, it's like the people that are checking this out, the people that are walking around, they're looking for places to eat. Local businesses are interested in that. That is exactly who could advertise with you. You could say, hey, I publish this content. I'm ranking number 1. I'm providing this, more detailed information. Maybe you're showing where you're actually walking, and you're taking pictures. You put a listing. You can say, hey, these are the places that you can go eat along this route. Here's my favorite. Here's who it's good for. Here's what you might expect. There's a strong chance, especially after you publish it and you can see like, hey, I'm ranking number 1. I'm getting this much traffic per month. Like, why don't we check it out? If we could put an ad over here, I could help, drive people to your business. You can cross promote, but that is the idea, local advertising. The other thing that you could do is have some sort of a referral situation. Like let's say there's a walking food tour, which I don't know if there's anything listed here. I don't think Longmont has a walking food tour. There might be one. Let's see. Walking food tour, which are really fun. If you haven't done a walking food tour, highly recommend it. It's a great way to see the town and to get some history. So secret food tours, Longmont. Culinary tours, Longmont. now in over 70 cities. So this is actually, there's not much information. So you have to get a private tour. What is this? Request a private tour. So interesting. So this is some business model where people are, I guess there's local hosts and you could like book a private tour. So secret food tours. Interesting. The thing is, food tours are usually awesome. We've done them in a handful of cities. Seattle, maybe Asheville, I can't remember. Portland. We've done a few cities. But anyway, this is something to look at. I don't think there's a walking food tour here, especially considering what came up. So downtown walking food tour, in person, Bricks on Main, $60. Oh, there is a food tour, but Longmont Leader. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's still valid. It could be. Okay, so we've looked at a handful of the keywords. You can see it's pretty inexpensive. So, and inexpensive, it's not too competitive. And I just looked at like free things to do in X city, so that could be a pretty straightforward thing. The other is, Shawna mentioned this in her interview. So she lives in Las Vegas, which is a fairly big city, is quite a large city, but there's like different neighborhoods and pockets. So I'm in Longmont, which is its own town, about 100,000 people, but it's part of like the Denver sort of metro area. It's a little farther out. It's like 45 minutes out. But there's a lot of places that have sort of like the bigger city with a ton of little neighborhoods with fairly significant populations. So you could aim for like a bigger metro area and then have different sections of your overall website or brand or whatever you're trying to do for each sort of smaller city or suburb. So that's one route to take. Another thing we'll look at is let's do not the local events, but comedy shows. So here's one, which I don't know what's going to come up. So we'll do, I think it ends up being comedy shows in Longmont. So you end up with Eventbrite, Andrea. It looks like a specific person who maybe has a show in Longmont. Moms Unhinged, stand-up comedy show. Okay, so in this like specific situation, like there's not that many venues around here. You can see still easy. It's at 19. So we have Eventbrite. We have a specific show that it looks like it does happen in Longmont. We have Longmont Out Loud, Times Call, blah, blah, blah. So again, it's more like event kind of stuff. But if we click on Longmont Out Loud, a mountain of talent. So I don't know much, like I haven't looked at this before, but like many of these, it's just like hardly anyone's searching for it. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go after it. Hardly anyone's searching for it. And it's very easy to rank. You can see some of the other stuff that is ranking. And if you actually put together like a good piece of content for what people are actually looking for, then and really keep in mind the searcher intent for like comedy shows in Longmont. So pretty interesting like set of keywords. And like I said, I put in just the question, what are some good local keywords for these sort of ideas? So the next thing, they do give us the keyword strategy tips as well. So the timing, user generated keywords, long tail keywords, and geo-specific variants. So one thing you should always check, one of the great ways to use these AI chatbots, you can say like, what are other keyword types that I should look for? and just kind of like, what am I missing? So while that's popping up, so when you run into sort of a dead end and you're like, well, I'm not sure where else to look. What am I missing? You could ask these what you're missing. So one thing I'll point out, like I said, I'm going to be doing these live streams, so you could sign up for notifications if you want to get a heads up. I typically send these out a couple hours before. You can look in the description and follow the link there and be able to sign up, which it's somewhere in the show notes and description, which I don't have it in the window right here. But basically, you could put in your email address and I'd just say, hey, we're going live in a little while. So we pop over here to the GPT and service-related keywords. So this is a big one, especially when we're thinking, hey, we want local advertisers, local businesses to work with us. So it would be stuff like this: best wedding venues, dog grooming, photography services, event catering, car rental, spa services, plumbers, and that sort of thing. Dog grooming could be interesting. So dog grooming in Longmont, just to see what we come up with here. So these are the ones where if you can rank for it, then you can have the small businesses actually advertise with you. barkmebeautiful.com, pawstogroom.com, 4paws and company. And you can see this is way better than the other keywords I was looking for, because if you find a good groomer, then you probably just want to stick with them. Still easy. This is 16 for dog grooming in Longmont. So mobile dog grooming Longmont is only 9, and you end up with a significant number of searches. It's only 70 searches. Dog grooming in Longmont has 520 searches, by the way. Dog wash, 110 searches, still a 16. So you put all these together, you end up with a few hundred. And these are specific services, right? So these are specific services. If you put together a good guide, then you're probably, there's something to that. Now, the other thing, if we actually look at the results here, you may have to do some other stuff, but they have some good images. They show like what they have going on here. But great keyword here, dog grooming in Longmont. So let's go back for the service related ones. So photography services. Another one, which I've actually done actually this might be one that I will work on. So I've done some shooting for some friends for portraits. I've done some senior photos, some family photos, some professional headshots around town here, just because I'm part of a community, and occasionally people are like, hey, can I get some headshots? So I've done some professional work, but photography services in Longmont photographers, I feel like that might be a little bit more, not much more competitive. Longmont photographer. And we end up, I think the results are all pretty much the same. But here's the interesting thing. Still easy. And there's a couple of links for this person. Yelp has one link. Catherine Chamberlain. So let me just take a look. Let's see, they're good photographers though. They're pros. That's the thing. Like I start looking at these and I'm like, shit. They're pros. But you know how SEO is. If I just rank number 1, put a couple good photos on here, put a little content. But the unfair advantage that I have, well, I know the SEO portion, but I could also get more links. So interesting thing here. So the Sarah Hill Photos is actually a Facebook page that has 400 and 50 backlinks, but only from 2 referring domains. And then there's some other locals here. But overall, they don't have a huge link profile strength. Their DA is relatively low. So one thing that I potentially could do is on Doug.Cunnington.com, put up Doug.Cunnington.com/Longmont photography. And then I'm in a spot where I actually can get business if I wanted it. Although I usually just taking pictures of my friends, but as an exercise, I could actually try to rank it and then refer maybe I contact, Sarah ranks number 1. So she probably doesn't need my help, but I could talk to Catherine and say, hey, Catherine, I'm getting these leads. I don't want to do the work. I don't have time to. You're obviously a pro. Why don't I refer people to you? Or actually, if I go further down, what is this Red Mountain Studio? So they're ranking even lower. And I'm like, hey, do you want some leads? I have people that are asking me for leads. I will refer them to you and just pay me whatever, $50 per lead or something like that to, or once you close the deal. But the further down they are, the more likely they would be oh yeah, I would definitely want to improve. I want to get more leads in. All right, let's look at some more event catering. That's another one, although I think the catering business might be fairly thin margins, but I guess it depends on how they're running the business. Certainly more competitive. 27 catering in Longmont. All right. Not a ton here. And actually this gives me an idea. So Longmont area Chamber of Commerce. So this is an area you could probably look for ideas. So Chamber of Commerce, and then you could probably go to these different areas. Let's see if we can actually navigate. How do you navigate? This is the caterers section. Can I just... Let's see what happens when we navigate up. If we could find out the different sections. No, this is the state of the city. I want to go to the top level. I want to go to the categories. No clue how to get to that. Programs. Let me just try to. I'll try to just go to. All right, forget that. So, let's go back. We asked for a couple other things, which we'll take a look at a couple more in a second. We have the comparison and best of keywords. So best sushi restaurants, top rated hotels, best breakfast places, best parks for picnics. All right. Let's look for best breakfast places. And quick note, I'm going to be heading to FinCon, the conference down in Atlanta towards the end of the month. So if you're around, or if you're attending, let me know. You can shoot me an email, doug@nichesiteproject.com. So best breakfast places. So this is one where TripAdvisor, Reddit, Yelp, many of those are going to rank pretty high. We do see, it says it's still easy with a 27 out of 100 for the KD. The one sort of anomaly is the downtownlongmont.com. Fairly high DA at 38, but the overall links is fairly low. So it doesn't mean it'll be easy, but we also have TikTok, the Denver foodie ranking, even though, I'm looking for Longmont. I'm not looking for stuff in Denver, but I think they have a Longmont video most likely. We have the seasonal and holiday guide, so Christmas events, summer camps, blah, blah, blah. Let's look for best parks for picnics in Longmont. This one's not very commercially based, so I feel like it could be fairly promising. So 18, we have Yelp, we have Reddit, Glorious Spaces, blah, blah, blah. So not much on this one with like real content where I would be like, oh, like someone's actually looking for this. I wonder if anyone's actually put content together for that. That's a great one. Local how-to guides, event coverage, near me and location based, user intent, local business, local influencer and personality, transactional, review based, and so on. The most promising that we saw here was around the dog grooming. I wonder what others with service related. So I'll say give 25 more service related. So the dog grooming was super interesting. I think there's probably some others that are like that. So we have roofing, lawn care, car detailing. Oh, that's a good one. So car detailing in Longmont, 370. KD score is only 11. We end up with like Facebook ranking, Yelp, Carla B detailers, Reddit, breeze through car wash. So a couple of car washes, but yeah, car detailing, Longmont. So, one thing to note here, these are very close. So it's like car detailing in Longmont versus auto detailing Longmont. So, really that's the same like user intent there or searcher intent. And I think, they're showing 370 is the search, but the KD number is different. So that means the results are a little bit different, even though essentially people are looking for the same thing. So car detailing, Longmont, CO. And then again, they're still showing 370. So I think they're, that's probably correct. It's 370, but the results are a little bit different here. That's another great one. Again, if you were running a small business, then you should be looking at these type of keywords, of course. But then it's like, if you could rank number one for car detailing Longmont, Colorado, then boom. You're going to outrank a lot of other people. Super interesting. We have the Facebook, it's probably, I don't know if they're getting a lot of action there, if there's a lot of, interaction there or anything, but it just happens to be the one ranking number one. It shows there's only one link. The breeze through car wash is actually like a car wash place. I don't think they do much detailing there. Just out of curiosity. So yeah, you just end up with like, there's basically nothing here, right? So if you actually created content, again, if you're looking at this like a brand and you're like, hey, I'm going to do a video, I'm going to show what we do, I'm going to have other content all related, like you have a great opportunity to rank for this stuff. And we have a question from Jeremy. Doug, do you think this could be in areas where you do not live, or is it better to be familiar with the location? It would be better to be familiar with the location. So I would say, well, here's the thing. You can do this for anywhere. If you're like, I'm going to find great keywords and I'm going to operate because these are good keywords. You can do that. However, if someone in your locality, or not in your locality, if someone that lives local is like, oh, I'm going to do this. Like I said this in the beginning part, Jeremy, but like basically if if you're going to do this in your own community, number one, it's like you're going to help people in your community, right? You're going to talk about businesses in your community, but you can go down there and you can take pictures of the restaurant or the food, or if you have auto detailing, you can be like, here's my car. It's like super dirty. They came, they did some work. Maybe if you get permission, you could take their pictures or video while they're working and say, hey, I got a local website and I'm going to feature you. And you say, here's the after. So you have an unfair advantage. That's the whole point here. You have an unfair advantage if you focus on an area where you have access and other people don't. Your content's going to be better. So even if I know more about a specific topic, let's say it is auto detailing, but you're able to take pictures, you're able to experience the actual service, then you're going to do a better job. Some of them were more vague, right? Or not vague, but it's not a service based, right? It's like content about museums and history around town. So it's not really commercially based, but again, if you live right there and you can go walk around the walking tour and take pictures, then you're going to have better content. You're going to be able to write better descriptions about what the tour is all about. So you can do that. One caveat is some people are huge fans of certain areas and they travel there often. So quick example, we really like Leadville. We were just there a couple weeks ago. We've been to Leadville, I think, say 4 out of the 5 years that we've lived here for at least a few days. We've actually gone back. I've gone for a couple day trips just over there. I don't live in Leadville, but I really like it. And when I'm there, I usually go out to different places and I really, walk around town. It's not very big, by the way. The thing is, because I go there often and I'm interested in the stuff going on in town, it would be conceivable that I could actually produce pretty good content because I'm actually there visiting. Some people even do this for farther locations. I feel like one of the domains that I reviewed for Otis Global in the last couple years, they had a domain about New Orleans food, and someone who didn't live in New Orleans but visited a few times a year, they had an awesome blog. They spent a lot of time. I think they were a chef of some kind, so they spent a lot of time on the food aspect, and they spent a lot of time going to restaurants, documenting and taking a lot of photos. So you could do it if you visit there. But the thing is, if you try to do this for some other location, then chances are someone else will be able to do a better job. That said, I wonder, someone can do the math here, look it up. I wonder how many cities of about 100,000 people there are in the US. There's a lot. So as we go through here, you see a lot of these services are lucrative. So you could spend a lot of time on this. Let's just do a couple more. So lawn care services in Longmont. So 24. Lawn care, Longmont, Colorado. We have 140 searches. Lawn aeration, Longmont. So only 20 searches. That's 13 for the KD number. And I think you'd be in great shape trying to compete for this stuff, especially lawn aeration. Some of these are seasonal, you don't aerate all year long. Daycare, moving companies, that will be expensive. So 360 searches and a KD of 18. Man. Yeah. So a lot of opportunities. And I think like if you put together a local site, like what Brooks has done, you can take a look at a bunch of keywords like this and just get like whatever we asked for 25 here. Just focus on like these 25, right? Like pretty amazing. Oh, we looked at photographers. But what about studios? Which might not be very, very popular. Photography studio. Yeah, so not a ton of competition. You know, some of them may not work out. There may not be any like locally. Computer repair services, that'll be a good one. Okay, so one thing, a couple other things I want to mention here. Make sure we cover all of the stuff. I have another podcast. It's called Ranking Revolution, focusing on SEO and marketing from a pro's perspective. Lab Pro Nootropics. I've been taking those. Definitely worth checking out. Really like the nootropics. And I have their other product called Flex as well for joint and sort of keeping the joints lubricated as we get older. And I've actually been doing a ton of hiking. I mentioned that at the beginning of the live stream. And I have been taking it, and could be a placebo. I don't think so, though. There's some good stuff in there, and I know there's some. Actually, let me grab the bottle. There's things in here that I have heard of before. There's some. I know there is. What do you call that stuff? It is turmeric. So there's turmeric in here, pretty good amount, and glucosamine, and a couple other things. But I know the glucosamine is something that seems to work really well for me. Anyway, so this stuff has been good. You could definitely check them out. I'm an affiliate for many of these. Do check out KWFinder. It's the tool that we've been using, and it does give you the KD number. So last here we have the computer repair services in Longmont, KD of 18. So some of these are a lot more computer, like this computer repair. Like I think if we actually Google it, we're going to end up with something where like you may need to set up more sort of local business looking stuff. Let's see if we can do that. We got some sponsored post here, but you end up with a situation where you need to have like the Google My Business stuff all set up, and we end up with some ads at the top, the local 3 here, and then you end up with some lightly optimized stuff. So you would definitely have to be strategic. Like when people are searching for this, they're maybe not looking for reviews. They're just looking for like a list of companies, or they're like, oh, you break, I fix. Like I've heard of that. And they just go right here. So there is definitely more to it than just like writing content around it. But I contend if you do have sort of a combo of content where you're putting together maybe like best of guides, or you have some how-to guides, you have like the best Halloween activities for families, and you publish content like that. And then you also have content around like computer repair and Longmont. That might be a little bit tougher, but if you think about what someone might be looking for, if they're like computer repair and Longmont reviews, and like you have experience, like you might be able to put together good information. So it just depends. Some of these are more straightforward than others. So if you have any questions or anything, you could leave a comment. Please do sign up for the notifications if you want to be aware of when I do the live streams, which, like I said, should be on Tuesdays at noon Mountain Time for the next several weeks. I actually do have more travel coming up towards the end of the month. So if you're in the Atlanta area during the FinCon conference, let me know. I actually won't be venturing off from the FinCon area at all. I'll just be around the hotel hanging out. But I know there are some people that go to FinCon, and hopefully we'll be able to chat there. I'll be recording some sessions and interviews while I'm there. So I just signed up the other day. All right, we'll catch y'all later, and I guess we'll see you next week.